So I guess we've all seen those golf balls with the lines on them and wondered, do they actually work? Do they really help you suck less on the green? We took a deep dive into all this and, well, let's just say it's a lot more complicated than you might think.
Yeah, putting, you see, it demands a surprising amount of precision. It's not just about getting it kind of close to the hole.
Right, and it's funny you should say that because in one of the analyses we were looking at, it talked about aiming a 1.5-inch line on a ball at a target 10 feet away. And even if your aim is off by just a tiny bit, like a fraction of an inch at the start, by the time the ball travels 10 feet, well, that little error, it becomes a huge miss.
Exactly. And that's just one part of it. I mean, a lot of golfers, they don't even use those lines right in the first place. They look down at the line on the ball, and they look up at the hole, and they're trying to like make those two separate pictures match up in their head.
Like trying to use your eyes like a level
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah, but that approach, it misses a really basic thing about aiming. You're not actually lining up the line with the target. You're just making these two separate mental images, and that's, well, it's just asking for errors. A much more accurate way is to just lift the ball up to eye level, use your dominant eye, and aim just like you would if you were sighting down a rifle.
So channel your inner Clint Eastwood out there on the green.
Exactly. But, and this is where it gets even trickier, our own eyes can actually work against us in putting. Like when we use both eyes, which feels totally natural, right? It can actually create this illusion of seeing two lines on the ball instead of just one, all because of how our eyes see depth.
Wait, hold on. So you're telling me my own two eyes are sabotaging my putting game?
Yeah.
Okay, this is fascinating. I have to know more about this whole two lines illusion.
Yeah.
How does that even happen?
Well, it's kind of like, think about how those 3D movies work. They trick your brain into seeing depth, right? And it's similar with this. Our brain gets a little confused because each eye is seeing a slightly different image. And keep in mind, we're just talking about aiming here. We haven't even gotten to how most people position the putter compared to the line, which is a whole other thing to think about. So aiming the line, that's important, but we also got to think about where that putter face actually hits the ball.
Okay, so even if I've got the line pointing right at the hole, if my putter face isn't lined up perfectly, I'm still going to miss.
Yep, that's right. They found that a lot of golfers, they actually position the sweet spot a little bit behind where they think they're going to hit the ball, kind of closer to their feet. It creates what they call a toe-ish stroke because you end up, well, the toe of the putter tends to open up during the stroke.
Well, you're assuming my putter has a toe there, but I get what you mean.
Mhm.
So what's the big deal with the slightly toe-ish stroke?
Well, it can really mess with the mechanics of your stroke. Instead of that smooth, straight back and through, you end up with a bit of an arc. And your putts, they just won't be as consistent.
There's that word again, consistency. But there's more to this whole line thing, right? Something about how we actually see the line itself.
Now, this is where it gets pretty wild. That line, the one that's supposed to be straight, well, the curve of the golf ball can actually distort how we see it. And get this, it changes depending on what angle you're looking from.
Wait, are you saying the lines aren't actually straight?
No, the lines themselves are straight, but because it's on a curved surface, you get this optical illusion thing happening, and it can make the line look curved, too.
Ah, okay, so it's like those optical illusions where a straight line looks all wonky because of the background. You're saying my own brain is working against me again.
It's subtle, but yeah, it can definitely throw off your aim, and a lot of times it'll make golfers push their putts off to the side.
So let me get this straight. Even if I've got the aim down, my setup's good, I'm using one eye, but my perception of the line itself can still mess me up. It's like, what are we even supposed to pay attention to at that point? If you can't trust your eyes, what can you trust?
This is where really knowing the game inside and out becomes so important. Things like knowing how to read the green, how to predict how the ball will break.
So it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but are we saying that focusing so much on these lines might actually be stopping us from learning the real skills that make a good putter?
You got it. That's exactly what this expert suggests. These lines, they might help a little bit when you're just starting out, but then they can make you feel overconfident, and that can stop you from developing the feel and intuition that you really need on the green.
Yeah, I get that. It's always tempting to look for that quick fix, that easy solution. Maybe that's part of why these lines are so appealing in the first place.
For sure. But all this research, it really underscores how important it is to get those fundamentals down. It's all about developing that eye for reading the green, that consistent stroke. and really understanding how the ball reacts on different slopes and surfaces.
Just like anything else, right? You want to master something, you got to put in the time and the practice. It's not about relying on some kind of visual trick.
Absolutely. It's about developing a feel for it, almost like a sixth sense for how that ball will behave.
Okay, so we've come full circle, back to that original question. Do those lines on golf balls actually help you suck less?
Well, based on everything we've talked about, it seems like maybe they help a tiny bit if you're a total beginner. But in the long run, they could actually hold you back. It's like those training wheels on a bike. They help you get started, but they can also stop you from developing the balance and coordination that you need to really ride on your own.
So what I'm hearing is, instead of looking for a magic solution printed right there on your golf ball, we should be spending more time working on our skills, becoming a more intuitive putter overall.
Think of it this way. Putting is all about precision, feel, and strategy.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into, honestly, the surprisingly complex world of putting. We've learned that our aim, our perception, even the ball itself can trick us. But when it comes down to it, it seems like the real key to sinking those putts comes down to mastering the fundamentals and developing a real feel for the game. So next time you're out there on the green, just remember it's not about the equipment, it's all about how you use it. And who knows, you might just surprise yourself with how much more confident and consistent your putting becomes.